Hey, I'm Sarah Chula, your host, and this is Crash Course Literature. Looking at a segment of Charles Dickens' world-famous book that is ravaging classrooms and destroying kids' will to apply themselves at school. And this book is none other than A Tale of Two Cities. To recap where we've come, Mr. Jarvis Lorry, a Tellson's bank teller, picks up Lucy Manette, daughter of Dr. Manette, who she is told is still alive in the Bastille prison in Paris, France, of who she thought she was dead and hasn't seen him his whole life. Mr. Lorry and Lucy Manette make their way to Paris, even though Lucy says all she'll see is a ghost when she gets there.
She doesn't see him in so long, especially because he was being contained in prison for 18 years. Yeah, 18 years. No, not 17, not 19, 18 years. Put on a test, make sure you put 17, or else your teacher will probably get mad at you.
They make their way to retrieve Lucy's father, who is in the Defarges' home and shop. The two run a wine shop with a chamber above where he was found making shoes. At this moment, Dr. Manette is recalled to life. And here we go again, with Dickens using his idea of recalled to life. Why does this occur so much? Well, it's because of the theme of bringing people back from the dead. His active use of the metaphor allows for the reader to interpret how imprisonment can take a toll on inmates very negatively. Now getting back to where we are now in the book. Book 2 is where things start to get pretty spicy. Dickens finally trails away from his introduction from book 1 and starts to explain engaging events, and chapter 7 is no slouch. Much foreshadowing was made with themes developing, which made for a very interesting read. So essentially, the book cuts away from the adventure of Mr. Lorry, Lucy, and Dr. Manette, and fades into a scene where Dickens portrays the power and high position of French aristocracy at the time. We are introduced to a new character, who is first named the Monseigneur, who is later known as Mr. de Marquis. He is the portrayal of the French aristocracy, who ruled during the time and regulated lives of the townsfolk of the area. He's a very snobby, just overall nasty type of guy. He was thick, which showed that he was rich and that he can afford food. The chapter opens to Monseigneur being pampered by multiple servants, feeding him with his favorite delicacy, chocolate, in his private hotel room. At the time, chocolate was a delicacy and was only affordable by those with a large amount of money, the aristocrats, so this was a treat fit for the king, especially the Monseigneur. What's ironic is that Dickens strictly states that having two servants in this case would show lack of respect and dignity to one's family. He says he must have died of two. This pulls away from the theme of duality in the book as it references it, but in an indirect way. The Monseigneur then leaves the hotel accompanied by servants. He exits the property on his own chariot. Now this is where the action happens and causes a harsh foreshadowing of the to-come bloody French Revolution. For no apparent reason, the Monseigneur's chariot is driven by some maniacal driver who's basically flooring all that 2 horsepower down the narrow streets of the town. Fast-moving objects, potential to kill people? Wait, is that a symbol? Oh my god. Now, as a reminder, these times were very difficult for the townsfolk of the villages, especially in the poorer areas, as aristocrats would run and rule the region, putting little to nothing in the way of safety towards the townsfolk. With nowhere to run, the townsfolk pressed against the wall and the shops and homes, trying to avoid the blazing chariot. Unfortunately, some child staring at the chariot in the middle of the road. Anyways, the little child gets trampled. The Monseigneur impatiently asks why he stopped, and then flicks a gold coin at the father of the dead boy, trying to pay for the damage he has dealt, as if a gold coin could pay for someone's death. Mr. Defarge then tries to intervene in this situation, preventing the dead boy's father to attack the Monseigneur, who he's mad at for killing his son. Monseigneur, after asking his profession, throws a coin at Mr. Defarge as well. After continuing speeding down the road at 2 horsepower, Mr. Defarge throws the coin back into the carriage of Monseigneur. Now, this is key, as it shows the revolt of the townsfolk and the uprising of the poor, and how they're trying to revolutionize their lives, being connected out of the theme of revolution. Angered, Monseigneur stops the carriage, acknowledges Mr. Defarge throwing the coin in his carriage, calls him a scallywag and ungrateful, and then just leaves. And that's pretty much how Chapter 7 rolls out. The chapter starts off calm in the hotel room of Monseigneur and ends up violent in the poor town streets. A trend in the mood that is and will continue to reappear again and again throughout the novel. Now, at first glance, you'd say, meh, I don't really care, to be honest, but this is of big importance to the story. Because of the foreshadowing of death, aristocracy, and corrupt high power, this chapter continues to hint at what will happen toward the end of Dickens' book. And that's all that I got to tell you about Chapter 7. I'm done now. I am going to be playing some Fortnite. So enjoy the rest of your day, people.